Ladies and gentlemen, you ever notice how some people only clap when you're not clapping for yourself? Woman, let me tell you something. Not everybody who hugs you loves you. Not everybody who laughs with you walks with you. Some folks come around just to study your steps, not to support them. You think because she's been around for years, she's your friend. Longevity doesn't equal loyalty. You can sit at the same table with someone for a decade and still not know their heart. You can cry in front of them, bleed in front of them, and still, they'll smile and use your pain as pillow talk with the next person. You gotta wake up. You keep handing your loyalty to people who wouldn't even hold an umbrella over you if it started raining. You give your kindness like it's candy on Halloween and wonder why you feel empty after. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not everyone is qualified to carry your story. See, some people are just there for the light show. They're attracted to your shine, but they were never built to handle your shadows. They clap for the highlight reel, but they disappear during the behind-the-scenes grind. You know what's worse than being alone? Being surrounded by people who make you feel alone. Trust me on that. You don't need a crowd to confirm your worth. Sometimes walking alone is the most powerful move you can make, because peace over people, that's how you protect your soul. And listen to this. Real friends don't make you guess. Real ones don't keep you questioning, doubting, second-guessing yourself. They pour into you, they pray for you, they correct you out of love. That's rare. That's gold. So the next time someone shows you who they are, don't repaint them, believe them. Silence is an answer. Distance is a decision. And walking away, that can be your freedom, woman. Not everyone is your friend. And that's okay, because once you clear out the fake, you make room for the real. Keep your circle tight. Keep your soul guarded, and never apologize for protecting your peace. Not everyone who smiles with you walks with you. It's a sentence that sounds simple, maybe even poetic. No, behind it lies a truth that most people learn the hard way. See, we grow up thinking that smiles are signs of love, of unity, of support. That if someone is around us, laughs at our jokes, compliments us on our dress, posts with us on social media, then they're with us. But what we don't realize early on is that presence doesn't always mean partnership. Some people are just around, they're just there, and not all of them are for you. The smile is the easiest thing to fake. You don't have to mean it. You don't have to believe in the person in front of you. You just curl your lips and show a little teeth. And it's enough to convince someone who's craving connection. That's the trap. Too many women get caught in that. Thinking that because someone is close, because someone calls them sis or babe, or leaves heart emojis on their posts, that it means there's real love in that connection. But let me tell you something, proximity is not proof of loyalty. A person can be right next to you and still not be walking the same path. Think about this. How many times have you shared your dreams with someone who smiled or nodded, but deep down, you felt something shift? You saw it in their eyes. That quiet envy, that subtle shade disguises concern. They'll smile at your promotion, but behind your back, they're downplaying your success. They'll congratulate you on the surface, but deep down, they're uncomfortable with your rise. These are the people who smile with you, but don't walk with you. They aren't walking with you. They're watching you. They're watching you. The ones who truly walk with you, they're rare, and they don't always smile. Sometimes they challenge you. They hold you accountable. They sit with you in silence when you're too broken to talk. They celebrate you not because they have to, but because they're genuinely proud. They're not threatened by your glow. They're inspired by it. They're not in competition with you. They walk beside you like warriors, lifting you when you're weak and checking you when your ego gets loud. That's love. That's loyalty. That's what walking with someone truly looks like. But most people, they're tourists in your life, visitors. Passing through, they come for the convenience, not the commitment. They're there for the good times, the shine, the social proof. They want to be seen with you when you're winning, but they vanish when you're in the valley. They smile for the selfies, but they're not around for the scars. You'll notice it when things go wrong, when you fail, when you break down, when life humbles you. That's when the smiles stop, the silence grows, and the truth shows up. Some of the biggest betrayals come wrapped in smiles. That's the part that stings. You'll open your heart to someone thinking they're on your side, only to find out they were collecting information, not memories. They weren't building with you. They were studying you, waiting, hoping. sometimes even praying that you fall just enough to make themselves feel taller. And yet you thought the smile meant safety. That's where discernment becomes your protection. You can't judge a person's loyalty by how often they're around or how loud they laugh at your jokes. You judge it by consistency, by action, by silence when you're not in the room. Do they defend your name when gossip starts? Do they support you even when they're not benefiting? Do they cheer you on when nobody's watching? That's how you know. It's a hard truth, especially for women who love hard, give deeply, and believe in the good of others. But being a good-hearted person doesn't mean you allow yourself to be fooled by false faces. You can still be kind and wise, still be generous and guarded. You don't owe everyone your trust. You don't have to keep people close just because they're familiar. Growth will separate you from some people you once called friends. That's not disloyalty. That's alignment. When someone walks with you, they don't just move beside you. They move in spirit, in truth, and loyalty. They hold space for you. They match your steps, not just your smiles. They show up in storms, not just in sunlight. The ones who smile but don't walk with you, they were never really with you to begin with. That loyalty is rare. Don't confuse presence with support. That statement hits hard because it's something many people learn only after they've been burned. There's a dangerous assumption we make when we see people show up in our lives consistently. We assume their presence equals loyalty. That because someone is there, checking in, responding to our messages, laughing with us, calling us a bestie or a sis, they're actually supporting us. But presence is often just proximity, not purpose. People can be close enough to touch you and still have no intention of lifting you. You can have people in your life for years, sharing dinners, birthdays, secrets, and still not have their true support. Just because someone stands beside you doesn't mean they stand up for you. Loyalty is deeper than just being around. It's how people act when your back is turned. It's what they say when your name comes up in rooms you're not in. It's whether they celebrate you when you win or subtly compete with you. And too often we confuse comfort and routine with real commitment. There are people who will ride in your car, eat at your table, and sleep in your house. But the moment you fall, they vanish. They weren't holding you up, they were holding on. And there's a big difference between the two. Holding on is easy, it benefits them, it gives them access. It makes them feel connected. But holding you up when you're tired, speaking life into you when you're doubting yourself, staying when things get uncomfortable, that's rare. That's what loyalty looks like, and not everyone is built for it. See, true support isn't always visible. It's not always loud or flashy. Sometimes it's just someone showing up when everyone else disappears. Sometimes it's someone telling you the truth when it hurts because they care about who you're becoming, not just how you feel in the moment. Support is quiet strength, it's presence with intention. But so many people just offer presence without purpose. They're around for the fun, for the story, for the access to your life, but they're not holding any of your weight. Think about how many people clapped for you when you made it, but were nowhere to be found during the grind. Think about who reached out when you were going through the storm. Think about who stayed silent when others disrespected you. These are the moments that separate loyal hearts from familiar faces. The people who truly support you won't always agree with you, but they won't abandon you either. They'll correct you with love, stand with you in weakness, and shield you from harm. You don't have to question their motives because their actions speak for them. But presence is deceiving. People can show up and still not show love. They can laugh with you while secretly envying you. They can be there every day and still not be with you in the ways that count. Some are around just to witness your journey, not to walk it with you. They stay close enough to benefit, far enough to never sacrifice. That's not loyalty, that's convenience. It hurts more when the people you thought had your back reveal they never did. When someone you always counted on shows you that their support was conditional, that they only stood with you as long as it was easy, as long as you were doing well, as long as they could see themselves in your reflection. But the minute you needed help, needed truth, needed silence over gossip, they faded. Their presence stayed maybe, but the support was gone. That's the heartbreak of misplaced trust. This is why discernment is so important. Just because someone checks on you doesn't mean they care. Just because they're in your circle doesn't mean they're in your corner. You have to learn how to separate the ones who love you from the ones who just like being near your glow. Some people are addicted to your energy, not committed to your well-being. They stick around not out of loyalty, but out of habit, or worse, out of curiosity. And yet we give people passes. We tell ourselves, but they've always been there. We confuse years with depth, history with loyalty. We lower the standard just to feel like we're supported. But deep down, we know who's really for us. We feel it in our spirit. Loyalty leaves fingerprints. It's in the way someone defends you in private, the way they check on you without being asked, the way they remind you of your strength when you've forgotten it. Those people are rare, and they deserve to be treasured. But the rest, their presence is not enough. Loyalty is the real proof that some people feed off your light, not your love. They aren't in your life because they care deeply for you. They're there because you shine, because you radiate something they want to absorb, because being near you makes them feel alive. Even if they do nothing to pour back into you, it's not your love that keeps them around, it's your energy. Your light makes them feel better about their own shadows, not because they want to heal, but because they want temporary warmth. And you, in all your kindness, keep giving without question, because love is what you lead with. But love is not what they came for, the glow. For the way you speak life into a room, for the confidence you exude when you walk into chaos and bring peace. For the way people are drawn to you, listen to you, depend on you. They came for the benefits of your presence, not the burden of your heart. They don't want the whole of you. They want the part that makes them feel full, and they will drain you in the process if you let them. It's easy to miss this in the beginning. These people seem kind, supportive, even admiring. They compliment your strength, praise your vision, and always seem to be nearby. But if you look closer, they rarely ask how you are. They don't hold space for your silence. They only respond to your light. The moment you dim, the moment you break, they get quiet. They don't know what to do with your pain. They only know how to feed off your joy. And so they keep you in a position where you feel you must always be on. Always okay. Always strong. You become a battery pack to their life, not a human being with needs of your own. And the danger is you begin to believe that this is what love looks like. That as long as you're useful, you're worthy. That your light must always be burning for someone else to feel good about themselves. That your value lies in how much you can give without breaking. But love doesn't drain. Love doesn't take without gift. Love doesn't just show up when you're glowing. It stays when you're tired, confused, broken, and human. The people who love you don't need your light to feel okay. They love you for who you are, not just what you bring. They sit with you in darkness. They cover you when you're exposed. They feed you when you're empty. The ones who feed off your light, though, they don't want to see you rest. They don't want to see you pull back and recharge, because your rest means they lose access to their fix. They need your high energy to distract from their own lack of growth. Your presence validates their importance. Your light covers their voids. And the moment you start protecting that light, they'll either withdraw or guilt you for changing. They'll say you become distant, selfish, or different. But you're not selfish. You're just no longer willing to be consumed. Honestly, you're learning to see through the flattery, to notice the difference between someone who loves your heart and someone who loves your shine. It's a hard truth, especially when you care. But some people never loved you. They loved how you made them feel. That's not the same thing. And when your love is deep and unconditional, it hurts to accept that. Because you think if you love harder, they'll finally reciprocate. If you give more, they'll finally pour back into you. But with people like this, there is no enough. The more you give, the more they need. The brighter you shine, the more they depend on it. Until one day you realize you're exhausted. You've been trying to light up someone else's world while slowly burning out in your own. And this is where boundaries become sacred. You don't dim your light, you guard it. You protect it from those who only want to stand in its glow without ever fueling your flame. You recognize that your energy is a gift, not a resource to be mined by anyone who happens to be near you. You stop performing, you start preserving, and the people who truly love you, they will meet you in that place, not because they need your light, but because they see you with or without it. Your vulnerability is not for everyone to handle. That's a lesson you don't learn until you place your heart in the wrong hands and watch it get dropped. Not out of malice, but out of carelessness. Vulnerability is sacred. It's not weakness, it's strength wrapped in trust. It's letting someone see the unfiltered version of who you are. The fears, the scars, the soft spots you usually keep hidden. But not everyone is built to hold that kind of truth. Some people aren't capable, some aren't willing, and some simply don't deserve it. We live in a world that praises transparency but often punishes it. People say be real, but the moment you're too real, too emotional, too honest, too exposed, they flinch, they change, they pull away because vulnerability requires depth, it demands presence. It's not just about listening, it's about holding space without judgment, without fixing, without running. And not everyone can do that. Some people want the story, not the soul behind it. They want the lesson you learned, not the tears it took to learn it. So when you open up, when you say, hey, this is me, and someone responds with silence, mockery, or withdrawal, it doesn't mean you were wrong to be vulnerable. It means they weren't ready to receive it. You gave a fragile piece of yourself to someone who didn't recognize its value. That hurts. It feels like rejection, and in a way it is. But it's not a reflection of your worth, it's a reflection of their capacity. Some people treat vulnerability like gossip. They listen not to understand, but to store, to share later, to use as leverage. They'll nod and smile while you pour out your heart, and then turn around and whisper that same heart into someone else's ear. These are the ones who crave connection but haven't earned your trust. They think being close to your pain makes them important. But proximity doesn't equal permission. Just because someone is near you doesn't mean they get to know everything inside you. And then there are those who simply can't handle real emotion. Maybe they've never faced their own. Maybe your honesty reminds them of what they're running from. So when you show them your cracks, your confusion, your questions, they recoil, not because you're too much, but because they haven't learned how to be enough. They want connection without the responsibility, intimacy without the weight. But true connection isn't surface level. It's messy, it's raw. It requires maturity. And that's why your vulnerability can't be given to everyone who smiles at you. The danger is when you've been mishandled enough times, you start to believe your vulnerability is the problem. You shut down, you build walls. You learn to smile while bleeding, laugh while breaking, perform while empty. And while that may protect you from pain, it also keeps you from healing. Because healing happens in the presence of safety. And safety comes from discernment, knowing who deserves access and who doesn't. There are people who will hold your vulnerability like a newborn, gently, quietly, with reverence. They won't interrupt. They won't judge. They won't offer cliches or quick fixes. They'll just sit with you in the moment. They'll validate your feelings, not dismiss them. They'll ask questions not out of curiosity, but out of care. And most of all, they'll remember what you said, not because it was dramatic, but because it mattered to you. That kind of support is rare, and that's why you must protect your softness, not harden it, protect it. Don't confuse being guarded with being cold. You can have a warm heart and strong boundaries. You can be kind and still be careful. You don't have to bleed for everyone to prove you feel. You don't have to be fully known by many, only deeply known by a few. Your vulnerability is a gift, not a transaction. It's not something you owe. It's something you choose to share when it's safe, when it's right, when it's respected. And if someone turns away from it, that's not your shame to carry. That's their limit, not your flaw. Some people just aren't meant to sit in your quiet places. And that's okay, because when the right people come, they won't run from your vulnerability. They'll meet you there. They'll honor it. And they'll remind you that even your most fragile truth is worthy of being held. Energy doesn't lie. Listen to how people make you feel. Long before words are spoken, before promises are made, before intentions are explained, energy speaks. It shows up in how someone looks at you, how they enter a room, how your body responds to their presence. There's a quiet knowing in your spirit when something is off, when someone smiles but their eyes don't match, when their words say one thing but their energy says another. And too often we ignore that. We convince ourselves that we're overthinking, that we're being too sensitive, that we need to be more patient. But your body doesn't lie. Your soul knows what your mind is trying to rationalize away. You've felt it before, that heaviness around someone who says all the right things but somehow drains you. That slight tightening in your chest when you share good news and they force a smile. That awkward silence that follows your vulnerability. Not because they're processing it, but because they don't really care. And yet, because they were polite. Because they didn't do anything overtly wrong, you let them stay. You convince yourself to overlook the invisible weight they bring into your life, but energy doesn't lie. You don't need someone to disrespect you outright to feel disrespect. Sometimes it's a subtle disinterest, the way they change the subject when the focus is on you, the way you shrink around them without realizing it. It's the way your light feels a little dimmer when they're near. The way your excitement cools when they walk in, that's energy. That's your inner world giving you signals, telling you who is safe, who is aligned, and who is just pretending. There's power in paying attention to how people make you feel, not just what they say. Because some people are experts at talking. They know how to say the right things, how to present themselves as caring, interested, supportive. But their energy tells a different story. They lean away when you speak. They listen to respond, not to understand. They show up when it's convenient, but disappear when your needs require effort. You feel alone, even when they're next to you. That's the truth trying to reach you. You don't need anyone to validate what your intuition already knows. You can feel when love is genuine and when it's performative. You can feel when someone truly sees you and when they're just tolerating your presence. The hard part is trusting that feeling. Because we want to believe people's words, we want to believe in their potential. We want to give them grace. But grace shouldn't come at the cost of your peace. If someone consistently makes you feel small, unsure, unseen, that's not your person, no matter how many memories you share. Energy doesn't need permission to speak. It will speak in your tiredness, your confusion, your restlessness. It will show up in how you start second-guessing yourself around certain people, and how you feel the need to apologize for your emotion, your joy, your dreams. The right people won't make you question your worth. They won't make you wonder if you're too much or not enough. Their presence will feel like ease, not pressure, like grounding, not imbalance. And you'll leave them feeling more whole, not more fragmented. We live in a world that teaches us to rely on appearances, to believe what's visible. But energy is deeper than that. It's primal. It's the invisible thread that connects souls or creates distance. You've met people who instantly felt like home. You've also met people who smile warmly, but made your stomach twist. That's energy, and it tells the truth even when the face doesn't. You don't owe anyone continued access to your life just because they haven't done something terrible. If someone consistently makes you feel uneasy, unheard, or undervalued, that's reason enough. You don't need proof beyond how you feel. You're feeling. Sometimes all you need is the quiet truth that being around someone consistently steals your peace. And that truth is enough, because energy doesn't lie. It reveals what words are too polished to say. And the more you listen to it, the more aligned, loved, and free you'll become. Growth will cost you people who were never real. It's one of the most painful yet liberating truths about becoming who you're meant to be. Talk. As you evolve, as you shed the parts of yourself that kept you small to make others comfortable, you start to see who was there for the version of you they could use, and who was there for the version of you they truly valued. The moment you start choosing peace over chaos, boundaries over being liked, healing over pretending, you disrupt the dynamics that kept certain people close. And when those dynamics shift, the illusions shatter. Some people never loved you. They loved your compliance. They loved that you didn't speak up, that you tolerated their moods, that you made excuses for their inconsistency. They loved that you laughed at their jokes, even when they hurt, that you always said yes, that you let their silence go unchallenged. You were easy to be around because you didn't challenge them to grow with you. You stayed small so the friendship or the relationship stayed intact. But growth changes that. Growth forces you to stand taller, to require more, to accept less nonsense. And when that happens, the people who were only there for your convenience begin to fall away. You'll notice it in subtle ways at first. The jokes they once made about your dreams start to sting a little more. The just plain comments feel more like digs. They stop calling, or they call but don't ask how you really are. You bring up something meaningful and they change the subject. You start celebrating yourself and they go silent. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's just distance, a shift in tone, a lack of enthusiasm. But it's enough to make you feel that something is different. And it is. You're growing. They're not, and your light makes their shadows more obvious. This doesn't make them bad people. It just means they weren't real in the way you thought. Real doesn't mean familiar. Real doesn't mean history. Real means aligned, honest, supportive. Real means they love who you're becoming, not just who you've been. And when people fall away because you're growing, they were only attached to a version of you that no longer exists. That version served them. The new one doesn't. And instead of evolving with you, they retreat. Sometimes we try to hold on. We shrink again, hoping to bring them back. We downplay our growth to keep the peace. We avoid talking about our wins because we don't want them to feel left behind. But that's not connection, that's fear. Fear of being alone, fear of change, fear of walking away from the familiar. But nothing great grows in fear. Growth demands space, and sometimes the only way to make that space is to let go of what no longer fits. You will lose people. That's the cost of becoming. The people who only clap when you were broken will no longer cheer when you're whole. The ones who bonded with you over struggle won't know how to support your success. And the ones who tolerated you at your lowest won't recognize you at your highest. They weren't invested in your growth. They were invested in your limits. They needed you to stay in the same place so they wouldn't feel challenged to move. But here's the truth. The people who are meant for you, who are real, will rise with you. They'll celebrate your transformation. They'll grow beside you. They won't feel threatened by your healing. They'll be inspired by it. They won't need you to shrink. They'll expand with you. Those are the ones worth keeping, not the ones who disappear when your light gets brighter. Not the ones who loved your wounds but can't handle your wisdom. Growth is a filter. It reveals what's real and what was just routine. It strips away the surface level connections and leaves you with depth, authenticity, and clarity. It hurts to lose people. It always does. But what you gain is worth far more than what you lose. You gain freedom. You gain peace. You gain relationships that feed your soul, not just fill your time. You owe it to yourself to keep evolving, even if it means walking away from everything and everyone that once felt like home. Because if they were real, they grow with you. And if they weren't, their absence is just proof that your growth is worth. Walking alone is better than walking with the wrong crowd. It doesn't always feel that way at first. In fact, solitude can feel heavy, especially when you've spent so much time surrounded by people, even if those people were never really good for you. There's something comforting about not being alone, even if the company is unkind, draining, or misaligned with your spirit. But over time, that comfort becomes a prison. You start to realize that walking beside people who don't value you, who don't uplift you, or who don't even understand who you are becoming is lonelier than walking the road by yourself. The wrong crowd doesn't always look wrong on the surface. Sometimes they smile in your face, call you a family, invite you to every gathering. But if you pay close attention, you'll notice how you never quite feel seen. You laugh with them, but it's not from the soul. You share your wins and the room goes quiet. You talk about your growth and they mock it or ignore it. They love you most when you're in pain, when you're struggling, when you're easy to control. But the moment you start to rise, the moment you start healing, setting boundaries, or dreaming bigger, their energy shifts. That's how you know they were the wrong crowd all along. They're not always malicious, but they don't nourish you. You walk with them, but you feel stuck. You follow their steps, but you're not moving toward your purpose. You compromise your values just to stay in the group. You silence your voice to keep the peace. You suppress your potential so you don't outgrow the circle. And deep down, something feels wrong. But fear keeps you there. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear that if you leave, you won't find anyone better. But there's power in solitude. There's clarity in silence. When you walk alone, you hear your own voice. You connect with your own vision. You begin to remember who you are without the noise, without the pressure to fit in, without the need to please anyone but yourself. You learn to stand on your own, to make decisions based on your truth, not on groupthink or peer pressure. And slowly, you start to rebuild your confidence. Not the kind that depends on approval, but the kind rooted in self-respect. The wrong crowd will never push you toward your higher self. They will keep you where they are because growth feels like betrayal to those who are committed to staying the same. They'll guilt you for changing, for evolving, for choosing a different path. But that guilt is not your burden to carry. Your journey is yours. Your calling won't always come with company. Sometimes the path requires you to walk alone so you can find out who you really are. It's not about being better than anyone. It's about choosing what's better for your soul It's about understanding that your environment affects your direction. You can't fly in circles designed to keep you grounded. You can't grow in spaces that fear your light. And you'll never reach your destiny while holding hands with people walking in the opposite direction. There's loneliness in breaking away, but there's also liberation. The quiet road gives you space to grow, to breathe, to stretch. It allows you to meet new people who align with your purpose, not just your past. You attract better connections when you stop settling for ones that drain you. You create room for truth, for love, for energy that matches yours. And when the right people come, you'll recognize them, not because they fill a void, but because they honor the wholeness you built in their absence. Walking alone takes courage. It takes strength to leave behind what's familiar and step into uncertainty. But that step is where everything changes. That step is where you find peace, power, and alignment. Because it's better to walk in truth by yourself than to walk in pretense with a crowd that never really saw you. It's better to be alone with your integrity than surrounded by those who make you compromise your soul. The right crowd will never require you to shrink. The right people won't be threatened by your evolution. And until they come, you walk alone. Not because you have to, but because you choose to honor yourself. In the end, everything comes down to this: your peace, your growth, your truth. These are worth more than any crowd, any shallow connection, any forced loyalty. You were never meant to shrink to be accepted, to silence your soul to be liked, or to walk with those who dim your light just to feel less alone. The journey may get lonely, but that loneliness is a doorway to alignment, to purpose, to people who love you for who you are, not for who they want you to be. Choose your path with courage, protect your energy, honor your vulnerability, trust your instincts. Because the more you grow, the more you'll see that letting go of what's fake is the first step toward everything real. And walking alone in truth is far more powerful than walking with many in illusion.